Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the iPhone 17 and compare it against the Samsung Galaxy S25 FE and see which particular phone is a better one for you. Now, the big thing I can definitely tell you is that if you're taking a look at these types of devices, they are both very, very good types of phones. They're both some of the best phones you can basically buy in the brand new market, and even in the used market, they're both very good options. Although with the iPhone 17, there's not really too many used ones. The thing I can tell you is that both of these types of devices are very, very good. I'm a very big fan of both of them. So let's go and see how they basically compare. Now, first things first, if you are in the market and you do want to go through and pick up these phones, links will be down in the description below. You can get them from there, and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of both these particular devices. The Samsung Galaxy S25 FE came out a little bit earlier this year. And within the S25 FE, this phone is going to be giving you a 6.7-inch dynamic LTPO AMOLED display. Now, this type of display, it's a very good type of panel. It is, 1080p. It's a dynamic LTPO AMOLED display. And for the most part, if you're in the market and you're going to go through and pick up a display, this thing is pretty solid. 1900 nits of peak brightness, 120 hertz. It's a hole punch display too, which is really nice. And there's some things that some people may have forgotten about that these phones have, like a fingerprint sensor in the display. Those things are really, really nice things to have. And when I take a look at the S25 FE, I do like that the hole punch display, it's not a massive dynamic island or anything like that. It's a much sleeker, type of panel. So it definitely looks like a modern screen. However, on something with the iPhone 17, this one is kind of interesting. The iPhone 17 is essentially going to be giving you a 6.3-inch LTPO Super Retina XDR OLED display. So this one is going to be slightly different. It's going to be smaller than the S25 FE. It's also going to be giving you a little bit of the dynamic island at the top, which might be annoying. However, this phone is still maintaining 120 hertz, which is nice, and it's giving you a brighter display. The iPhone 17 is giving you that, 3000 nits of peak brightness right there, which that in and of itself is a very big difference. So once again, if I'm in the market and I'm about to go through and pick up a device, it is a very, very nice thing to have to basically be able to go through and buy a device like, an iPhone 17 that is going to be giving you that better type of experience. So I do think that right there, I'm a very big fan of, and it does kind of make this device stand out just a little bit more from that particular situation than from something like, a Samsung Galaxy S25 FE. They're both giving you USB Type-C ports on the bottom, which is great. They're both giving you these frosted kind of glass backs a little bit. The S25 FE is still, a glass back, which is nice. And the camera setups are a little bit different. Dual camera on the iPhone 17. S25 FE's triple camera setup. But the thing is, like I've said before, if you're taking a look at both these types of devices, you are basically going to be able to go through and still get a really good experience from something like a, Samsung Galaxy S25 FE. But the iPhone 17 could end up giving you a better type of display when it kind of comes down to it, which is actually kind of surprising. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there. From a price tag perspective, this is also something that's very important to keep in mind here. So between both, you're going to have to remember this. With something like the Samsung Galaxy S25 FE, this phone is going to cost you about $500 as of this point. So that is going to be kind of an advantage for that type of phone. So if you are trying to go through and pick up a device that is going to be giving you a better experience here, the S25 FE is going to be a slightly cheaper type of experience. And I feel like that right there is going to be a really, really cool, important thing to keep in mind from that side, as well. Is it the biggest difference in the world? Probably not, but you're still going to be able to get a really good type of experience from something like a Samsung Galaxy S25 FE from a price tag perspective. Now, on top of that, another important thing to keep in mind here too is the cameras, or are the cameras. The S25 FE is going to be giving you that triple camera setup. So it's going to be that wide ultra-wide telephoto lens, and kind of the same thing for the iPhone 17, except for the 17, it's going to be giving you a slightly more limited type of experience here. You have to remember, with the iPhone 17, that type of camera is essentially going to be a little bit more limited for the most part. That's kind of the best way to describe it. And that's not a negative, that's not a super terrible thing. But if you are in the market and you're trying to go through and pick up a device, you're going to have to remember that the iPhone 17's camera is still going to be very, very good for what you're paying for here. You have to remember, with the iPhone 17, this one does give you 4K 60 on the front and the back. But with something like the Galaxy S25 FE, this phone actually gives you 8K capability on the backside. And that right there is something that's very awesome to have. I love being able to go through and get 8K capability. It's something that's super awesome. And you're essentially going to be able to get that there on this type of device when it comes down to it. So I will say from that particular situation, if you're in the market and you're trying to go through and pick up a device, these types of devices are going to be able to give you a really good type of experience from that situation. So kind of keep that in mind, but for the most part, that kind of covers it up there, for the most part. Now, on top of that, another important thing here too is the fact that both these phones are still supported with software as of this point, and they're both probably going to be supported with software for a long period of time. So both these devices are going to be there for many, many years. And like I said before, I think that's a really big advantage, right? Being able to go through and pick up devices that are going to be giving you like a good experience there. I think that's something that's really awesome. And I, for one, I love being able to go through and buy a device like these ones that are going to be giving you a slightly better experience. So kind of keep that in mind. Again, I wouldn't call it necessarily like a deal breaker or anything like that. But with something like an iPhone 17, this one might end up lasting slightly longer, but it's still like so neck and neck. It's going to take years for us to even to figure that out. In terms of battery life, the iPhone 17 and the Galaxy S25 FE, I would say would perform pretty similarly. I don't think there's going to be like a big massive difference here either. I think they're both going to be giving you like a really good type of experience from that side, but I wouldn't really say one is going to outlast the other one by like an insane amount. I think they're both going to be supportive for many, many years, but it's just going to be kind of tough to tell on which one is going to be the longer lasting one when it kind of comes down to it. But I'm sure in the next coming years, we might see something that happens where we see a big difference. But as of this point, that's not really the case. In terms of performance, this is also another one of those key areas. With both of these phones, you have to remember, they're both going to be able to give you slightly different chipsets. The S25 FE is giving you the Exynos 2400 with 8 gigs of RAM. The iPhone 17 is giving you that Apple A19 chipset inside with 8 gigabytes of RAM. So that right there is also a big difference, because if you're looking at both these types of devices, something like an iPhone 17 might end up giving you a better type of experience there and a faster type of experience than something like a Galaxy, S25 FE. So this is kind of one of those issues as well, because if you're going to go through and pick up a device, you're going to have to remember that these types of devices are going to be giving you a slightly more limited type of experience. Albeit, I don't think it's like the biggest deal in the world, and I still think you're going to be getting a good type of experience from both these devices. I would imagine that something like a Galaxy, S25 FE is still going to be fast. It would have been faster and better though had it had that Snapdragon chipset. Unfortunately, it doesn't really give us that. So we're kind of stuck in this like kind of limbo phase for the most part with both these devices. So to kind of sum it up, what I definitely will tell you is that both these phones and both these devices, I think, are good options, right? They're very, very good phones. I think the Galaxy S25 FE is one of those types of phones that I look at, and I do feel like for the most part, something like a Galaxy S25, that's a really good phone, the S25 FE, but I would rather just recommend buying the standard Galaxy S25 over this phone. Even in the used market, they're not like super different. I feel like that makes a lot more sense for me to recommend rather than, this one, if I'm being honest. With the iPhone 17, this is a very good phone, and I do think this is kind of a better phone than something like a Samsung Galaxy S25 FE, and that one is kind of the one I'd recommending for the most part here as well. So the choice is kind of yours, but when I take a look at both these types of phones, I feel like I said before, it does kind of make a lot more sense to go through and buy something like a Samsung Galaxy, S25 over this one. But I think it makes overall more sense to buy something like a Samsung Galaxy, S25 over the S25 FE. But the iPhone 17 is a very, very good phone when it kind of comes down to it. So from that side, that kind of covers it out there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.